Croeso i'n podlediad newydd Garddio Aberystwyth, lle ni'n cwrdd â pobl sy'n tyfu bwyd a gwarchod byd natur o gwmpas y dre. Welcome to our new podcast, Garddio Aberystwyth, where we meet people who are growing food and looking after nature around the town. In this episode, we're just next to Trefechan Bridge, where a small group of people are busy on an interesting construction project. I started by asking them all to introduce themselves.
So I'm Cara Cameron Hannon. I work for Aber Food Surplus as their growing coordinator, and at the moment we're at the Trefechan Bridge Garden and we're setting up a water collection system that one of our volunteers has designed.
Hello, I'm Stephen Forster. I'm one of the volunteers here at Aber Food Surplus working on the community gardens, and today we're building a rainwater harvester system. So there's no water on site. We put lots of new plants in, and the only source of water is over Busy Road, the other side of the bridge.
So hi, my name is Debbie. I am one of the volunteers here today at the Trefechan Bridge Garden.
Hi, my name is Isaac Price and I volunteer with the Aber Food Surplus. And I'm a carpenter, so I help out with some of the infrastructure and building the raised beds and stuff like that.
So we've got a blue plastic barrel, which is our collection system. So three elements to this. There's a collection field, sometimes known as a rain saucer, a reservoir to collect the water you've captured, and then a delivery mechanism, which is the tap. And so our blue barrel is standing on a plinth which is made out of recycled pallets. We filled that with gravel, which was here to make paths and things. Our collection field is an old car boot tarpaulin, which we're going to repurpose. And then we've been given some hazel coppicing from the Tircoed garden at Llanfarion, and we're putting those in the ground now for our support for our collection field, for our tarpaulin. We've had loads of materials donated, so the only cost is a tap for a rainwater barrel, so the total cost of the build is under £5.
While they get started on that, Cara's going to give me a tour of the garden.
It's quite small. It's a kind of odd shape. It's a bit of a triangle garden, and it is surrounded by roads, but it feels like quite a peaceful spot within that, and you kind of forget where you are often. It's overlooking the Rheidol River, and it's right next to Trefechan Bridge. And yeah, so around the kind of outside there's a lot of big bushy shrubs. There's buddleia and broom, all like flowering at the moment. So you feel quite safe and enclosed, and there's a really big raised bed in the middle which is really flourishing with courgettes and artichoke and carrots and fennel. We've got some other raised beds which is mainly herbs and lots of little trees. The grass is a little bit overgrown, but supporting lots of wildlife.
Isaac helped renovate the raised bed as part of the Tyfu Dyfi project.
It was made quite a long time ago, I think, and all the sleepers were rotting away, so the bed was falling apart. So we took all the soil out and replaced all the old sleepers with new sleepers, and then we kind of collected all the brash that had been cut from the gardens and put that in the bottom to kind of bulk it out a bit, and eventually that will kind of rot down. And then on top of that we put soil, and then compost, and then put all the old plants back in and put some herbs and some leeks, and there's a huge courgette plant at the moment which has got loads of courgettes on it, which is really nice. And lots of insects around it, which I think is a good sign, and lots of butterflies flapping around, so yeah.
It's time to go back to our construction project and see how they're getting on.
Right now we've just been digging some holes, should say, to put the posts in, and then there's going to be a tarp that is attaches to the 4 posts around the water barrel in the middle, and there'll be a hole in the middle of the tarp which hangs above it, and then the water will drain out through that. So currently we've dug some holes, got the posts in, they're looking pretty secure, which is great. We might have to move actually, because I think we're standing at the location of the next 2 holes.
It wasn't long before the last 2 poles were put in place, and now it's time to attach the tarpaulin.
So right now I'm drilling a hole so we can tie some string through the post and then tie the tarp to that to stop it from sliding down. Good. Yeah, we've got all the way through.
I wanted to know how Cara and the other volunteers got involved with the garden and what they get out of it.
Yeah, so I got involved as a volunteer about, I'd say maybe 3.5 years ago. The garden was in quite, I'd say disrepair maybe, but very, very overgrown. It had a history of being a kind of community garden, but I think for the last 5 years it had been largely disused. Yeah, the first 6 months or so was kind of just chopping and cutting back and finding some real treasures that were here. We've got a really great dedicated volunteer team who come every week, and now it's still a little bit overgrown at times, but it's quite wild, but also we're growing some really luscious veg with it too.
I moved to Aberystwyth in February, and before that I was living up in Sheffield and had access to an allotment and green space, so I knew when I moved here it was something I really wanted to seek out. So yeah, pretty much as soon as I moved here I was just kind of searching online for local groups and found Aber Food Surplus and the gardening group. And yeah, so now kind of on Wednesday mornings, don't make it every week, but try to put it into my routine of coming down and helping out.
It's really sparked an interest in me about growing food for not only because it tastes good and it's good for the environment, actually it's physical exercise. I get out, get the benefit of fresh air, and this community garden is a great way of meeting new people, but also learning from one another. And one of the things I found since I've been involved is just how much work a small group of people can get through when we pull together with a common purpose.
The garden benefits the local community as well.
We have a volunteer team every week that deals with most of the upkeep of the garden, and then it's actually just open to the public, and we'll often walk by and people will be having their lunch or sitting, on their work break, having a coffee. And yeah, I know that I've spoken to members of the public that they bring their children here and they, look for they do bug hunting and, things like that. So yeah, it's really lovely.
So we've got a saucer-shaped collection field, which is our tarpaulin. We've cut a square hole in the middle, and in that we've inserted a flower pot. And the idea of that is to create a central focus for the water. It sits slightly proud of the surface, so I've drilled holes around the rim. And that acts as a sort of filter for large things like leaves, but also then, as I say, a central point for the water. And then we're going to weight that. So if the wind takes the tarpaulin, there's always a weight in the centre to keep the saucer shape in place. That's the theory.
So right now we're drilling a hole in the bottom of the barrel so we can put a tap. Put a tap in it, so then we can put a watering can underneath and collect the water from the rain. And maybe somewhere here, I think.
So we've got the structure assembled, the barrel's there, the tarpaulin's in place and secured to the poles. We're just going to test it by pouring some water into the tarp and see what happens.
Happy sound of the water barrel filling up, and
absolutely,
it's got about, I don't know, half an inch maybe on the bottom.
Just have to wait for it to rain now, and that's going to work fine.
So there we are, all finished and looking really good. If you're in Aberystwyth, the garden's open to the public, so do call in and have a look. And if you want to join the gardening team, get in touch with Aber Food Surplus. If you want to know more about growing food wherever you are, then contact Garden Organic for tips and ideas. And we'll see you next time. Fy welwn ni chi tro nesa. Hwyl!